The city awoke with its usual hunger, a restless pulse that echoed through glass towers and the roar of traffic. Sunlight streamed across steel and mirrored windows, bouncing reflections from one building to another like fire caught in a prism. At the center of it all, Alex Carter moved with the assurance of a man who had conquered this world. His gray tailored suit molded perfectly to his frame, his polished shoes striking against the marble as he exited the lobby of his company's headquarters. At 36, Alex was everything magazines wrote about and competitors envied: charismatic, sharp, impossibly composed. He carried influence the way others carried a briefcase, casually, as if it were part of him. Yet as he stepped into the brightness of the morning, something quiet tugged at him, a ripple beneath the still surface of his thoughts. He had brushed it aside as nerves, nothing more than anticipation before a monumental deal. Today, he would board the helicopter waiting on the rooftop pad, fly out, and negotiate the contract that would cement his company's global dominance. It was supposed to be his crowning moment, the kind of morning when his confidence should have been unshakable. Still, as he glanced at his wristwatch, expensive, precise, ticking toward destiny, an unexplainable unease coiled in his chest. He tightened his jaw and told himself it was nothing. After all, Alex Carter did not second guess. He calculated, he conquered, he won. The pilot was already waiting on the rooftop when Alex emerged from the final stairwell, blades of the helicopter turning with a slow, steady rhythm that vibrated in the air. The sound was mechanical and reassuring, like the heartbeat of progress. The wind whipped against his suit jacket, tugging faintly at his tie as he stepped forward, every inch the man of certainty. His pilot gave a confident wave, signaling everything was ready, every detail in place. Alex inhaled deeply, forcing his focus back where it belonged on the negotiation strategies he had spent weeks refining. Numbers, projections, contingencies all lined up neatly in his mind. He was prepared for anything, at least. That's what he told himself. He adjusted his cufflinks, squinting briefly against the glare of the sun, and took the final strides toward the waiting aircraft. Then it happened. A sound split the air, sharp and unexpected, shattering his concentration. A high-pitched voice, thin yet urgent, carried across the rooftop. "Don't get in the helicopter." Alex stopped dead, turning sharply toward the voice. A small figure burst from the stairwell entrance below, sprinting up the remaining steps as if her life depended on it. Blonde hair flew wildly around her face, catching sunlight like strands of gold. She wore a yellow dress, bright and out of place against the cold, metallic backdrop of the rooftop. Her arms pumped frantically as she ran, her little shoes slapping against the concrete. Her face twisted with panic. Alex blinked, startled. Of all the things he prepared for this morning, none of them involved a child charging across his rooftop, shouting warnings. His security detail stood frozen, uncertain whether to intervene, while the girl's voice tore through the thrum of the helicopter blades again. "Please, don't get in. You can't go." Her tone was desperate, trembling but steady with conviction, and it pierced something in Alex he hadn't felt in years. A raw, unfiltered urgency that demanded attention. For a man accustomed to filtering lies from truths in boardrooms, the sound of her plea was unmistakable. She believed every word. The world seemed to slow, the spinning blades suddenly louder, more ominous than before. Alex's pulse quickened, his instincts pulling into directions. Logic told him this was madness, a child's game, or misunderstanding. But another part of him, quieter yet sharper, whispered that ignoring her could cost more than just a deal. He took a step toward her without thinking, his polished exterior cracking just enough to reveal the man beneath. Unsettled and unsure, "Slow down," he called, his voice steady, but carrying an edge of something he rarely allowed into a concern. The girl reached him, breathless, eyes wide and blue like the sky above them. Her chest rose and fell quickly as she struggled to speak, the words spilling out with urgency. "Don't go in there," she gasped, pointing toward the helicopter with a trembling hand. "Something bad will happen. Please, don't." The spinning blades hummed behind him, impatient, waiting for his decision. For the first time in years, Alex Carter felt paralyzed, standing at a crossroads that no amount of power, wealth, or preparation could simplify, and all because a little girl in a yellow dress had stopped him. The wind from the helicopter whipped across the rooftop, scattering dust and tugging at the hem of the girl's yellow dress. She stood before Alex, small and trembling, but her wide blue eyes held a force that unsettled him more than the roar of the machine behind him. "I heard them," she said breathlessly. clutching her chest as if the words themselves weighed heavy. Two men. They were talking in the stairwell. They said they messed with your helicopter. They said it would crash right after takeoff. Her voice cracked, but the conviction behind it rang clear. Alex froze, every instinct warring inside him. Years of boardroom battles, political maneuvering, and hostile takeovers had honed his ability to spot deception. He had built empires by reading the subtle cues in people, the twitch of an eye, the nervous shift of a hand. And yet, staring at this child, he found no performance, only fear. His pilot glanced back impatiently, signaling once more. The helicopter blades whirred faster now, that from a steady reminder of the decision he needed to make. Seconds mattered. Millions hung in the balance. And still, Alex couldn't shake the sharp twist in his chest. Where exactly did you hear this? His voice, calm on the surface, carried a dangerous undercurrent of urgency. In the building, she said, pointing with her small hand toward the towering glass structure that gleamed behind them. By the trash bins near the stairwell. My mom, she cleans there. I was helping her. They didn't see me. Her words tumbled out quickly, but each one landed heavy. Weighted with sincerity, Alex's gaze flicked toward the helicopter, then back to her. The once reassuring machine now seemed monstrous, humming like a predator waiting for him to step inside its jaws. The logic-driven part of his mind tried to dismiss her warning. Children exaggerate. Children misunderstand. But another part of him, the one that had been tugged all morning, with that strange unease, clung to her words like a lifeline. With a sharp motion, he raised his hand toward his pilot. Shut it down. The man hesitated, confusion flashing in his eyes. But the authority in Alex's tone was unquestionable. Slowly, the blades began to ease, their roar dying into a reluctant whine until only the sound of the city filled the silence. The little girl's shoulders sagged with relief. Her eyes glistened, the intensity in her expression softening now that he had listened. For the first time in years, Alex felt something unfamiliar tug at him, gratitude. Not toward a colleague or investor, but toward a child who had just possibly saved his life. What's your name? He asked, lowering himself so he wasn't towering over her. Lily, she whispered, shifting nervously on her feet. Lily, he repeated, the name unfamiliar yet strangely heavy on his tongue. Do you know how brave you were just now? Running out here, warning me like that? She nodded faintly, though her eyes flickered toward the building, where fear still lingered. My mom will be mad I ran out, Lily admitted softly. But I had to. I couldn't let you. Her words faltered, but the tremble in her lips said enough. Alex studied her carefully. Something about her features, those striking blue eyes, the tilt of her chin, nod at him with an unsettling familiarity. Though he couldn't place why. You did the right thing, he said firmly, rising again, his voice carrying that commanding authority that usually closed deals and bent rooms to his will. But this time it wasn't business, it was personal. He turned to his head of security, who had finally caught up with the chaos, his expression taut with confusion. I want a full inspection of the helicopter. Every inch, every bulb, every system. Do it now. The team scrambled into action, tension rippling through them. Alex's gaze, however, returned to Lily, who stood with her small fist clenched, as though still bracing herself for danger. Your mother, he said quietly. She works here? Lily nodded, pointing again to the building. She's inside. She doesn't like me running around, but I couldn't stay quiet. Alex's chest tightened at her honesty. For reasons he didn't yet understand, this child had shattered his morning, his plans, his perfect order. And still, he couldn't bring himself to feel anger, only a strange mix of admiration and unease. Then let's go see your mom, he said finally, extending his hand. Lily hesitated for a moment, then slipped her small fingers into his. Her hand was warm, fragile, yet the grip was steady, grounding him in a way nothing else had in years. As they descended from the rooftop, Alex felt the weight of the morning pressing in. His career, his empire, his life, everything had nearly been undone. Not by the forces of business or politics, but by sabotage, by betrayal. And it had been a child, not his vast resources or trained staff, who had saved him. Asterisk for a man who prided himself on control. That realization was both humbling and terrifying, and deep inside, though he didn't yet understand why, Alex knew this was only the beginning. The lobby of Carter Enterprises stretched wide and gleaming, sunlight pouring through its floor-to-ceiling windows, catching on polished marble floors that reflected the bustle of assistants, interns, and executives hurrying to begin their day. Yet, despite the constant movement, silence seemed to fall in Alex's mind as he followed Lily through the vast space. Her small hand was tucked into his, warm and steady, a strange contrast to the cold churn of uncertainty inside him. Every step echoed louder than it should have. The man who had dealt billion-dollar deals with steady hands now felt unmoored. "Where's your mother?" he asked gently. Lily scanned the lobby, her eyes darting between the towering plants and the clusters of people. Then she froze, her little fingers tightening around his. She lifted her chin and pointed. There, Alex's gaze followed the direction of her hand, and in that instant, his world tilted. Standing by a cleaning cart, dressed in a simple blue uniform, was a woman he had not seen in 6 long years. Her hair, chestnut brown with strands tucked mistily behind her ears, caught the light. Her movements were efficient, practiced, but her posture carried a subtle weariness. She turned at the sound of Lily's voice, her cloth slipping slightly from her hand as her eyes landed on Alex. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. "Alex," she whispered. The single word cracked in her throat, fragile yet sharp, filled with years of silence. His name, spoken like it was both a wound and a memory. "Emily," he breathed, his voice barely audible, yet heavy with the force of recognition. The past hit him like a tidal wave. Memories he had carefully buried surged to the surface. The way she used to laugh quietly when she thought no one heard. The late nights they had spent dreaming of futures they would build together. The arguments that had broken everything. 6 years ago, ambition had driven him forward and away from her, leaving words unsaid, apologies unmade. Now here she was, standing in the lobby of his empire, holding a cleaning rag instead of the life he once imagined for her. Her eyes darted down, landing on Lily, and for the briefest moment, Alex saw everything: fear, guilt, sorrow, and a truth she could no longer keep hidden. His breath caught, his pulse thundered. Lily. The resemblance slammed into him with brutal clarity. Those piercing blue eyes he had seen in the mirror every morning now stared back at him, from a face small and delicate, framed by golden hair. The same stubborn tilt of the chin, the same spark. His knees weakened, a sensation foreign to him, and for the first time in years, Alex Carter felt the ground shift beneath his feet. Emily's lips parted, trembling as though she wanted to speak, but couldn't force the words out. "Mommy?" Lily tugged at her sleeve, oblivious to the storm brewing between the two adults. I told him about the men. He didn't go." Emily's face paled, her eyes snapping back to Alex, searching him, almost as if she feared what he might do with the truth. "You knew," Alex said quietly, his voice rough, betraying an emotion he didn't want anyone in his empire to hear. "All these years, you knew." Her hands tightened around the handle of the cart. "I had to, Alex. You had your world, your life. I didn't want to be the reason you lost it." His chest tightened, anger and grief clashing inside him. "Lost it? Emily, look at me. Do you have any idea what I've already lost?" The words slipped out before he could stop them, rawer than he intended. Lily's wide eyes moved between them, her innocence cutting through the weight of the moment. She didn't understand, not yet. Alex exhaled sharply, running a hand across his face, trying to steady himself. 6 years. 6 years without knowing, without seeing his daughter's first steps, her first words, her laughter, all because of choices made in silence. But this wasn't the place. Not here in the open lobby with employees walking by, stealing glances, whispering. He straightened, his voice low, controlled, but burning with urgency. "We're not doing this here." He looked directly at Emily, his tone leaving no room for refusal. "We need to talk." Emily's throat bobbed, her eyes wet with unshed tears. She glanced at Lily, then back at Alex, torn between fear and something softer that flickered just for an instant's relief. Maybe that the truth was finally out. And then, before any of them could say more, one of Alex's security officers rushed into the lobby, his face pale, his voice urgent. "So you need to see this. The helicopter. It's worse than we thought." The air in the room shifted. Every instinct Alex had sharpened like a blade. His gaze flicked from the officer to Emily, then down to Lily, who clutched her mother's hand tighter, sensing danger without understanding it. In that moment, Alex realized the morning's chaos was far from over. The attempt on his life wasn't random. It was deliberate, calculated. Someone wanted him gone, and standing here, with Emily and Lily in front of him, he suddenly understood the stakes were no longer just about him. They were about all three of them. The elevator doors closed with a hollow thud. sealing Alex, Emily, and Lily inside with two of his most trusted security men. The hum of the lift carried them upward, but the silence between the three of them was heavier than the machinery itself. Alex stood tall, his reflection fractured in the mirrored panels, but inside he was unraveling. He caught Emily's eyes in the reflection. They darted away almost instantly, as if afraid of the weight behind his gaze. Lily leaned into her mother's side, clutching her arm, her innocence a fragile barrier between the storm of unspoken words. When the elevator doors opened onto the secure executive floor, the head of security was waiting with a tablet in hand, his expression grim. "Sir," he began, lowering his voice, "you were right to stop the flight. The helicopter wasn't just tampered with, it was rigged to fail midair. Fuel lines, electronics, even the backup systems. Whoever did this knew exactly how to make it look like an accident." Alex's jaw clenched. The weight of those words pressed down on him. He glanced at Lily, who stood just within earshot, her blue eyes wide with curiosity and fear. He didn't want her to hear words like sabotage or accident. "Not yet. Show me," he said sharply. The officer turned the tablet around. Grainy footage played across the screen to shadowed figures in maintenance uniforms, slipping into the rooftop hangar during the night, carrying tools, working swiftly. Their faces remained hidden, but their movements were confident, practiced. Emily's hand went to her mouth, a small gasp escaping. Lily looked up at her mother. "Mommy, what's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetheart," Emily whispered, brushing a hand across her daughter's hair. But her eyes betrayed her. Alex studied the footage, his mind working furiously. This wasn't just an attack on his business. This was personal. He had enemies, yes, boardroom rivals, competitors who would relish his downfall. But this kind of precision required someone close, someone with access. The realization cut deeper than the chill of fear. It meant betrayal. He dismissed the officer with a nod, promising a full investigation later. When the door shut, leaving only the three of them, Alex finally turned to Emily, asked her 6 years. He said, his voice low but edged like glass. 6 years you kept her from me, and now, out of nowhere, she runs onto my rooftop and saves my life. Tell me, Emily, was that fate? Or was it something you've been keeping hidden all along? Her face flushed, her hands tightening into fists. "Don't," she said, her voice trembling but fierce. "Don't you dare stand there and act like you're the victim. You chose your empire. Alex, you chose power over us. I wasn't going to drag Lily into that world." His chest heaved. The sting of her words hit harder than he expected because they were true. He remembered the night he had walked out, his hunger for dominance drowning out the soft voice, begging him to stay. He had believed he could always come back later, once he had everything. But later had stretched into years. "Do you know what you took from me?" His voice cracked. "Ra. Her first steps, her first words, her birthdays. You took all of it." Emily's eyes glistened, but she refused to back down. "And do you know what I gave her? Safety, stability, a life without watching her father climb higher and higher while forgetting everyone he left at the bottom. You think money buys presents? It doesn't." Alex, for a moment, silence thickened between them. Lily, sensing the tension, looked between them with worried eyes. "Why are you fighting?" she asked softly. That single question cut deeper than any accusation. Alex's shoulders slumped, his anger bleeding into something else, grief, regret, longing. He knelt down so he was eye level with Lily. "We're not fighting, sweetheart," he said, though his voice wavered. "We're just trying to understand each other." Lily studied him with the kind of piercing honesty only a child could give. Then she reached out, touching his cheek lightly. "You look sad," she whispered. His throat tightened. He covered her small hand with his own, holding it there like it was the only anchor in a storm. "Maybe I am." Emily looked away, her chest rising and falling rapidly. The sight of Alex kneeling before Lily stirred something she had buried for years. But she crushed it quickly, reminding herself of the dangers that came with his world. And those dangers were real. Asterisk, because at that very moment, another security officer burst into the room, urgency painted across his face. "Sir, we traced the access codes used to enter the rooftop hangar. They belong to someone inside your inner circle." Alex straightened instantly, his heart pounding. His empire wasn't just under attack from the outside. Someone close, someone he trusted, wanted him gone. His eyes flicked from the officer to Emily and Lily. In that instant, his priorities shifted. For the first time in his life, the survival of his empire wasn't his greatest concern. It was them. Whoever had orchestrated this already knew about Lily. And if they were willing to sabotage a helicopter, what else were they capable of? Alex's voice dropped, quiet but full of steel. Get them somewhere safe? Now, Emily's head snapped up, fear flashing in her eyes. What do you mean? He hurriedly looked at her aunt for the first time since their separation. His eyes carried no arrogance, no distance, only determination. It means, he said firmly, that keeping Lily a secret isn't protection anymore. It's a target. The room fell silent, heavy with the weight of truth, and as Lily curled against her mother's side, clutching her tightly, Alex realized that the battle for his life wasn't just about survival. It was about protecting the family he never knew he had before his enemies tore it apart. Asterisk, the city glittered beneath the night sky, its towers glowing like watchful giants. But inside Alex Carter's penthouse, the atmosphere was suffocating. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across the room, offering a view of the empire he had built, yet Alex stood with his back to it, his gaze locked on the people who mattered more than any skyline. Emily sat tensely on the edge of a leather sofa, Lily curled against her side, already drifting into the soft, uneven breathing of sleep. Her yellow dress was wrinkled from the long day, her small fingers still clinging tightly to her mother's blouse as if afraid of letting go. Alex couldn't take his eyes off them. For years he had believed his success had made him untouchable, that his empire was shielded enough against any threat. Yet here was proof of the opposite. The danger had followed him home, and it had found them. His head of security stepped forward, his voice tight with urgency. Sir, we've confirmed the sabotage was carried out using codes stolen from your inner circle. Only 6 people have that level of clearance. Alex's jaw tightened. 6. Only 6 people he trusted with his life and legacy. He had dined with them, built fortunes with them, leaned on them in moments of crisis. And one of them wanted him dead. Names Alex demanded. The officer hesitated, then listed them quietly: his CFO, his chief of operations, his personal pilot, his longtime assistant, his head of acquisitions, and his oldest friend. The words settled like poison. Emily looked at him, her face pale. You mean someone you trust tried to kill you? Alex met her gaze, his chest tight. Not tried, Emily, planned. Calculated. They wanted me out of the way, permanently. He ran a hand across his jaw, the pressure of betrayal gnawing at him. And now that Lily stopped it, they'll know she exists. Emily's grip on her daughter tightened. Oh God. Alex crossed the room, lowering himself so he was level with them. He brushed a strand of hair away from Lily's sleeping face, his touch tentative, almost reverent. The resemblance struck him against so much of himself in her, yet softened by Emily's gentleness. A daughter he hadn't known, but now couldn't imagine losing. He looked up at Emily, his voice raw. I can fight for myself. I've always fought. But this, his eyes flicked to Lily. This I won't risk. Not for anything. Her eyes glistened, tears gathering, but not falling. Alex, don't do this. Don't make promises you can't keep. I'm not promising, he said, still lacing his tone. I'm deciding. The silence stretched between them, heavy, until the sudden buzz of Alex's phone shattered it. He glanced at the screen. A known number. His instincts screamed at him, but he answered. Static crackled. Then a distorted voice filled the line. You were supposed to be on that helicopter, Carter. Emily's eyes snapped up, fear etching across her face. Alex's grip on the phone tightened. Who is this? A low chuckle echoed. Doesn't matter. What matters is you're still alive. And now. So is she. Alex froze, his heart slamming against his ribs. What did you say? The voice dropped to a whisper, chilling. The little girl. Pretty thing. Brave, too. Pity she'll grow up without a father just like you grew up without one. The line went dead. Emily gasped, her arms tightening around Lily. Alex's vision blurred with rage, his control slipping for the first time in years. Whoever it was, they knew about Lily. They weren't just after him, they were after her. He turned sharply to his security chief. Lock this place down. Nobody in, nobody out. I want every camera monitored, every entrance covered. His voice thundered through the room. And give me the names, all 6. I want every move they've made in the last 48 hours. The officer nodded and hurried out, barking orders into his earpiece. Emily rose, her voice breaking. Alex, this is exactly what I was afraid of. This world of yours, it destroys everything it touches. I kept her from you to protect her, and yet Alex snapped, his anger clashing with desperation. She just saved my life. Don't you see, Emily? She's part of this whether we want it or not. Hiding her won't keep her safe anymore. Only standing in front of her will. His words hung in the air, raw and jagged. Emily stared at him, her chest rising and falling as she fought tears. She wanted to hate him for the arrogance, for the way he spoke as though he could control fate itself. But there was something different in his eyes now. Not the cold ambition she remembered, something deeper, fiercer. A father's fire. You think you can protect her from people like this? She whispered. I don't think, Alex said, his voice low, dangerous. I know. Just then, a soft noise cut through the heavy silence. Lily stirred, blinking awake. She looked between her mother and Alex, her voice groggy, but curious. Daddy. The word slipped out, innocent, unplanned, and it shattered everything. Emily froze, her hand flying to her mouth. Alex's breath caught, his chest tightening so hard it hurt. He had never heard that word directed at him before. It struck deeper than any insult, any betrayal. Daddy. Lily repeated, sitting up, rubbing her eyes. Are you my daddy? Emily's eyes brimmed with tears. Alex swallowed hard, his throat aching. Slowly, he reached out, his hand trembling for the first time in years. Yes, he whispered, his voice breaking. Yes, I am. Lily's lips curved into a small, sleepy smile before she nestled against his chest, trusting him without question. Alex wrapped his arms around her, holding her close, and in that moment, the billionaire, who once thought he had everything, realized he had been empty all along. But as he held her, his eyes flicked to the dark window, the city glittering beyond. Somewhere out there, a traitor was watching, waiting, and Alex knew this was no longer just a game of business. This was war. Asterisk. The next morning broke gray and heavy, storm clouds rolling over the skyline like a warning. Alex Carter stood at the head of his penthouse dining table, untouched breakfast cooling before him. Across the glass expanse of the room, Emily sat with Lily, coaxing her to eat. The scene looked fragile, almost domestic, but Alex's mind was anywhere but peaceful. His phone buzzed. A secure line. He answered, his voice clipped. Talk, sir. His security chief said, we've narrowed it down. 2 of the 6 suspects have airtight alibis. The pilot and your acquisitions head were in Dubai during the breach. That leaves 4. Alex's hand tightened around the phone. For people. For he had trusted. And one who had tried to murder him. Keep digging. He said coldly. Every message, every call, every transaction. Nothing is off limits. When he hung up, Emily's voice cut through the tension. You look like you haven't slept. Asterisk. I didn't. He admitted. He moved closer, his eyes lingering on Lily, who was happily swinging her legs under the table as she nibbled toast. For a moment, warmth cracked through the ice of his thoughts. But then reality returned. He turned to Emily, his voice low, urgent. We don't have time to waste. Whoever did this knows about her. That phone call wasn't a bluff. Emily's hand trembled slightly on her coffee cup. So what now, Alex? You can't watch us every second of the day. Then I'll make sure someone else does. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and slid it across the table. Emily frowned, opening it to reveal not jewelry, but a sleek black device, a tracker. He explained. It's disguised as a pendant. If anything happens, if you're ever in danger, I'll know exactly where you are. Emily looked at it as though it burned. So this is it. You're pulling us into your world of shadows and secrets? Asterisk. His gaze hardened. You're already in it, Emily, whether you wanted it or not. Before she could respond, the elevator chimed. The head of security stepped in, his face grave. Sir, we've uncovered something. Alex followed him into the study, Emily close behind. On the large screen, record scrolled financial transfers, encrypted messages. Then a face appeared, his CFO, the man who had stood at his side for a decade, the one who handled the blood and numbers of every empire Alex had crushed. Had betrayed him? Alex's blood went cold. Are you sure? Asterisk. The officer nodded. We traced the sabotage orders to offshore accounts linked directly to him. The plan wasn't just about the helicopter, sir. There were backups. Poison, car tampering, even a potential hitman. The helicopter was only the beginning. Emily gasped. Alex's fist clenched, fury rising like fire. And Lily overheard his men. That's why she ran to me. The truth was a knife twisting deeper. His daughter had been thrust into the line of fire because of the life he had built. Asterisk. Emily's voice trembled. Alex, what if they try again? What if they won't? Alex said, his tone lethal. Because I'll end this. That night, the storm finally broke, rain lashing the city as Alex prepared. He stood before the mirror, fastening his cufflinks with steady hands. But his reflection was not the polished CEO the world knew. It was something darker. A man stripped of illusions. A father ready to fight. Emily appeared in the doorway, Lily asleep in her arms. She watched him quietly, her eyes searching. I don't know if I hate you or if I trust you, she whispered. He stepped closer, brushing a kiss against Lily's forehead, lingering there as though trying to memorize the warmth of her skin. Then he met Emily's eyes. You don't have to decide right now. Just believe this. I won't let anyone touch her. Or you. Emily's breath hitched. For the first time, she saw not the ruthless billionaire, but a man standing at the edge of everything, willing to burn his empire if it meant saving the two people in front of him. Hours later, Alex entered the private club where his CFO was known to conduct backroom dealings. The storm outside rattled the windows, thunder growling like a warning. Alex walked through the dim corridors with the calm of a predator, his security team fanning out behind him. The CFO looked up from his table, surprise flickering before he masked it with a smile. Alex, I wasn't expecting. You tried to kill me. Alex cut him off, his voice low and razor sharp. Worse, you put her in danger. The man's smirk faltered, but only slightly. Business is business. You made enemies, Alex. I just chose the winning side. Alex leaned forward, his eyes burning with a fury the other man had never seen. Then you chose wrong. The storm roared outside, lightning splitting the sky, and for the first time, Alex Carter wasn't fighting for his empire. He was fighting for his family. Asterisk, the storm outside raged like a beast unchained, hammering against the city with sheets of rain and furious wind. Inside the shadowed corridors of the private club, Alex Carter stood like a wall of iron, every muscle taut, his eyes fixed on the man who had once been his most trusted ally. The CFO leaned back in his chair, feigning calm, but the twitch in his jaw betrayed him. Alex, he began smoothly, don't make this harder than it has to be. We both know how the game is played. You've crushed competitors. You've ruined lives for profit. You can't be surprised someone finally came for you. Alex's hand curled into a fist at his side, his voice like steel dragged across stone. You didn't just come for me. You put a little girl in your line of fire. My daughter. For the first time, the CFO's composure faltered. His eyes flickered, surprise flashing before he quickly masked it. Daughter? The word left his lips like a discovery, and Alex's blood went cold. He had just revealed what he swore to keep hidden. Before Alex could react, the man smirked. So it's true. That explains everything. The girl who warned you, she's yours. He leaned forward, his tone venomous. That makes her leverage. In a flash, Alex surged forward, slamming the man against the wall with a force that rattled the glasses on the nearby table. Rain pounded against the windows, thunder shook the building, and Alex's voice was a growl torn from the depths of rage. If you so much as breathe her name again, I will bury you so deep no one will remember you existed. The CFO laughed through clenched teeth, even as Alex's grip tightened on his collar. You think you can stop this? You think it's just me? No, Alex, you've been marked for years. Your enemies are everywhere. You can't protect her. You can't protect anyone. The words cut deep, but Alex's fury blazed hotter. He wasn't just a CEO now, he was a father. And fathers didn't surrender. But then his phone buzzed. He froze, dread coiling in his gut. Slowly, he released the man, pulling the phone from his pocket. The screen flashed with a single message. We have them. His stomach dropped. He opened the message, and his world tilted. A photo filled the screen. Emily and Lily, huddled in the back of a black SUV. Fear etched across their faces. Alex's heart hammered. He looked up, his eyes burning into the CFO's smug expression. This was never about killing you outright, the man said softly, almost gleefully. It was about control. Now, you'll do exactly what we want, or your family disappears. The room seemed to shrink, suffocating with the weight of the choice before him. For the first time in his life, Alex Carter, the man who had bent markets to his will, who had stared down billion-dollar rivals without flinching, felt true fear. But fear hardened into resolve. He turned to his security detail, his voice sharp. Trace that number. Every camera, every signal. Find that SUV. The men scattered, urgency sparking like electricity. Alex grabbed the CFO by the throat again, dragging him close enough that their foreheads nearly touched. You've made the worst mistake of your life, Alex hissed. You touch what I cannot lose. And then he shoved him aside, storming out into the night, rain drenching him the moment he hit the streets. The storm no longer mattered. The city no longer mattered. There was only one thought driving him forward: get them back. Meanwhile, inside the SUV, Emily clutched Lily tightly, her voice trembling as she whispered reassurance. It's going to be okay, sweetheart. Daddy will find us. Lily's small voice quivered. But Mommy, what if he doesn't? Emily pressed her lips to her daughter's hair, fighting the tears burning her eyes. He will, she said, more to herself than to Lily. He has too. The car sped through the rain-slicked streets, faceless men in dark suits on either side. Emily stared out at the blur of city lights, her heart pounding. For 6 years, she had fought to protect her daughter alone. Now, for the first time, she realized she couldn't. Only Alex could fight this battle. Back in his car, Alex's phone buzzed again. His chief of security's voice came over the line. Sir, we have a lead. The SUV was spotted heading toward the docks. The docks, remote, isolated, perfect for disappearances. Alex's grip tightened on the wheel. Tell the team to converge there. I'm on my way. As the car tore through the rain, Alex's mind raced. He had fought for profits, for prestige, for power, but none of it mattered. Not now. This was the fight of his life. Not for his empire, for his blood. Thunder roared overhead as he whispered into the storm. A vow only the night could hear. They'll regret ever touching her.